This was a winter wheat field last year. So last fall, we just turned the water on after we got the straw baled off and got the volunteer wheat coming back. And then we spread manure over the top of it, put 20 tons on per acre and just had it spread over the top and then just let it grow. And it went through the winter time, and then this spring, I want to say around April 10th, I came out and sprayed this, just sprayed it with Roundup and got a great kill on it. And now we're just planting directly into it. So, I mean, it's just wheat, it's just single species, but it's something green. It's keeping those microbes alive. So we're just keeping that biology going. So we use the row cleaners just to move. We're not moving soil, we're just moving a little bit of the residue, a little bit of the manure that you'll see out there, just to make sure we're getting a good ride with the row unit. And so yeah, we just plant right into this. We don't have to dam or dike the corn. It just, water will infiltrate here all season long. We don't have any issues with runoff. It'll take a lot of water. And if you dig down in here right now, just all kinds of earthworms. We actually went out for this, an earlier field that we did. We had turned off water the day before, and the next day we were on it planting, just because there's more structure to this soil. If it had been a traditional, worked field, we would have had to wait a few more days, I think. So that was a benefit. We just get right in, plant. And one challenge of doing the no-till like this is that if it gets dry, then our planter won't go in the ground. So we have to kind of balance that with, okay, do we need to water ahead of time, or do we have enough moisture that we can plant into to make it work? So we had to water this because the wheat had been sucking moisture out the whole time it was growing. And then we just got so many winds, and our water just came on in the canal system a little over a week ago. And so we just didn't have enough soil moisture before planting. So the in-furrow fertilizer that we're using on our no-till ground, well, all of our ground actually, is a lot of biological primers is what we're using. Like, we're using fish hydrolysate, we're using some bacterial stuff. I mean, we're just basically trying to get the biology revved up. So the seed, when it germinates, says, hey, I need to get in gear and start putting sugars out. And then the biology flocks around the sugar, and pretty soon you got a healthy plant, because it's they're working together. So I don't know, we're just thinking outside the box, trying to get the biology going. So this planter is a 24-row planter on 22-inch spacing, and we have it set up for no-till use right now. So we've got our row cleaners up front, and they're set so that we can adjust them from the cab. Just right now they're just set where they're floating, just the weight of the row cleaner. Right now we can also lift them up out of the way if we want to, or we can put down pressure on them if we need to move residue or manure or something like that that's on the surface. And just we've got narrow gauge wheels here so that it fits behind the row cleaner, because a lot of times, you got a wide one here on a normal planter. It gets outside of what the row cleaner is cleaning, and so then you get a rougher ride riding over things like that. So we went with the narrower gauge wheels here. Then in the no-till conditions, we're using our notch closing discs here, closing wheels, and it basically just crumbles the sidewalls closed again. With the round wheels, we couldn't get the sidewall, or we couldn't get the trench closed back up. So we went with these notch closing discs, and they just work great. Of course, you can adjust the down pressure on them. We're putting on two different kinds of fertilizer right now. We're putting one down in furrow with these Keaton seed firmers, and then we're putting some nitrogen out the back with our 2x2 system here. So set up on GPS, it turns off each row individually as you've planted. Do your end row, it'll turn off the rows as it gets into what's already been planted. And yeah, been real happy with the planter as long as all the technology works, and that's we've been real happy with it. So I would say probably we cut out 3 passes at least against what the traditional method we used to do, because after this wheat we would have worked it once in the fall, and then we would have worked it probably 2 more times in the springtime to get it prepared for planting. And so we saved, you know, anywhere from $60 to $80 an acre just by not having to work the ground so much. And then we saved by not having to come in and dam or dike the field. So I'd say, you know, close to $100 an acre just in tillage costs, not having to come work the ground and run the dam or diker across the field also. You know, I'd say we probably save, you know, 30%. We probably use 30% less fuel than we used to use, maybe more than that, maybe up to 40%, which is great. You know, just fuel's cheap now, but it's going to get expensive again. It always does. So it's just the fuel savings alone has been great. You know, there was about 3 years ago, we were, you know, had gone to some high yield meetings and thought, you know, we're really going to try to really push our yields. And we, you know, really upped our nitrogen application, thinking that, you know, that'll do it. And we kind of ended up with the same yields that we'd had before. And so we thought, well, that probably wasn't the best thing. So we actually cut back our nitrogen quite a bit after we went to this method. And so just from the nitrogen savings has been big. I'd have to figure it out exactly how many dollars per acre that would be though. It just is more efficient for us completely, because if we can slow the pivots down a lot more than we used to be able to, then it's less wear and tear on the pivots. We run the pivots less just because we're putting down more at one time. It just gets down in the soil profile so much better, and it's just so much more efficient. So I would say a couple inches less to grow the same crop or a better crop than the old method. We had stuff that came up before a lot of guys did. It was like even when it got cold at night, it held the heat better overnight.
Yeah.
It didn't warm up maybe quite as fast as everybody else's did, but once it got to a certain temperature, we'd have cold nights like this for a couple nights. Our soil would stay warmer, and it wouldn't have these wild fluctuations. So we just get more and more confident with this kind of stuff the more we do it, that, yeah, it turns cold, no big deal. We just keep planting, you know. It just kind of, I don't know what you'd say. It kind of
buffers things.
It buffers things. It really does. You dig up roots later in the season, and they're just deep, going everywhere. They're following all those old root channels down. They're following the wormholes. They're just doing great. Got good moisture here, and
Great moisture.
yeah.